Good morning and welcome to the Saturday edition of Dr.Lamba's Awakening Call. It was 2013, 5 years back, that Oxford English Dictionary added a new word. This word had been in existence, but it was not officially recognized, and the word is selfie. As a matter of fact, selfie is the word which identifies a new generation. And it has become such an epidemic that sometimes the psychologists and the philosophers, the thinkers, wonder whether this generation suffering from the epidemic of selfie is in fact normal. Is it supranormal or subnormal? Is selfie taking an expression of self-esteem, or is it narcissism or something more? It's definitely a craze, as Google estimated that last year in 2017, more than 24 billion selfies were taken globally. 24 billion selfies. Is definitely one of the most prominent cultural phenomena of 21st century. But it's not something new. As a matter of fact, millennials did not invent selfie. It was there earlier as well, but it was a different one. Now selfie is more individualistic unit of perfection. This is an idea that each one of those people who have a selfie craze, that they individually are perfect golden persona, and that persona they want to project to the social media. So this craze for selfie, or the selfie epidemic, is closely linked to the social media. Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on, Reddit. I mean, there are more than 5 dozen social media outlets. And this craze of selfie is there. Now, according to the scientists, mostly, it is a self-esteem movement that is led to obsession. So when self-esteem becomes an obsession, it becomes narcissism. And this is an obsession with self. The idea originally was to free ourselves from all kinds of social problems by believing that we are special, we are amazing. An American politician, John Wenceslas, believed that increasing self-esteem was like a vaccine for a disease, which could protect people from being overwhelmed with the life's challenges. But is it desirable that each person becomes an island unto himself? Of course, each individual must be an island, must be impervious to the outside impact. But at the same time, there is an interconnecting link as well. And what we have seen is that real self-esteem does not come from projecting the supposed golden persona on the social media. Self-esteem is not at the root of social problems. Still, self-esteem doesn't need publication. The idea of building self-esteem to protect us from the failure has become viral, and it's changed the way the children are being raised and the way they are being taught to view life. This is a completely distorted version of life. And the parents who have always become, earlier used to be full of an attitude of a disciplined family, have given way to a new concept that the parents only think their children to be special and amazing and treat them as such. Now, when too much of coddling is there, it results in the child developing narcissist tendencies. And it is since early 90s of this century that self-esteem movement blossomed, which was good, but then degenerated into narcissism. And the data collected by Harvard, Princeton, Cambridge, and Adelaide University shows that narcissism among the young people is rising and rising at an abnormal speed. According to some of the philosophers and psychologists, it's a combination of philosophy and psychology, the whole millennial generation is built on selfie concept. And what concerns me more about the perfect selfies and the perfect Instagram photo is that they can make you miserable. Seeing all those photos of others can make you feel that you are missing something in life, that you are not good enough. So the search for Instagram fame makes people do stupid things. And there have been cases when the young, impressionable minds have got into debt, have taken to smuggling drugs. Of course, that's a whole different story, but the impact of the selfie generation is so overwhelming that the people, especially the millennials and the younger generation, have lost all concept of reality. More concerned with themselves, more introvert, they are cutting away from the life, and for themselves they are creating a situation which is not normal. But as I said, the other people, their peers, when they see them dressed in dowdy clothes, I'm not saying fashionable, I'm saying dowdy, show off. So that makes them miserable. So on the one side, the self-esteem is going up to the level of narcissism. On the other side, it's being decreased, and decreased as a geometrical progression, not an arithmetical progression. So we are creating two branches of human beings. One would be demigods, the others would be subhuman. That is going to be the selfie generation. So to call that selfie generation suffers from self-esteem is a misnomer. Self-esteem is not something which you can show by photographing yourself and putting it on social media. People take their pictures and say, going to this restaurant. How does it matter? And in case it happens once in a blue moon, it's fine. But then every second they want to project. They are in this place, they are in that place. And the purpose is not to do something positive, but it is only to balloon up their egos. Again, I'm not against ego, as you know it. But blowing it out of proportion, A, and without consideration of the other qualities, only going to the restaurants, only flying to the distant places, is that a sign of ego? What about the intellectual, moral development? So, question arises, does taking selfie really reflect only self-obsession? Human engine, the mind, when it's engaged in the selfie-taking ceremony, it's forgetful of everything around itself. But it does provide very interesting insight into that individual personality. And it's a behavioral change. And that behavioral change makes that person unfit for society. They become social without any social connectivity. Now, this is an enigma. I mean, the people of this generation, the selfie generation, I call it. I don't call it Generation X. I don't call it millennials. I don't call it next gen. No, not those words. I call it a selfie generation. Selfie is a phenomena which is absolutely meant for self-presentation. That's it. It's just a presentation of yourself in different places, in different modes, in different forms. Early examples of the self-presentation, if historically you see, was how the ancient Britons would used to paint their face and went into battle. You have seen the Indians going into a battle with the painted faces. That was, in fact, the earliest manifestation of what has become a selfie culture. The purpose was that they altered their faces to make them look more threatening and more fearful to their opponents. Now, these selfie generation shows themselves in a much more congenial manner to make them acceptable. Ancient Egyptians also used to paint their faces to make themselves look more beautiful. And beauty at that time was regarded as a sign of holiness. And throughout history, from tapestries to the old paintings, humans have represented themselves to be more powerful and more attractive than they really are. But this generation, this selfie generation, has crossed the Rubicon. What in India they call it Lakshman Rekha. There are two personality traits which represent this self-preservation, and both are there in this selfie generation. That is narcissism bordering on self-esteem and a sense of inferiority complex, who are not able to project themselves with their golden persona. It's an extreme interest and appreciation of yourself and your physical appearance, not intellectual appearance. That's again the point. It's not moral, it's not spiritual, it's not intellectual. It is purely physical appearance. And it's an evaluation of yourself much more magnified than the reality is. And you see, the biggest problem in this is that this sort of attitude is destructive to the personal relationship. Whereas in cases of real self-esteem, that will be supportive of the personal relationships. So major categories are different. One is attention seeking. These people basically suffering from inferiority complex, they seek attention. And that's why the selfies are there. Sometimes selfies can be used to escape boredom. It can also be used to communicate, but that's a rare thing. And archiving, if you want to archive and have a permanent record of social events, that's okay. But then social media should not come in. So essentially, it's vanity, it's self-obsession, and a combination of attention seeking and desire to escape from the boredom. Not exactly boredom, but to escape from life. That escapist attitude cuts you from the real life. You are unable to face the challenges of life and take refuge under selfies, projecting yourself as a happy-go person. You think that you're posting a picture of going to a restaurant. You are impacting that others that you are enjoying. No, it can also show that you're not happy with your home. So the different aspects are there, and selfie has now become basically a synonym for vanity and self-obsession. Again, self-obsession, ego, vanity are not bad. But these emotions, when carried to the extreme, the way any emotion carried to the extreme is bad. And unfortunately, these emotions are crossing the Rubicon, crossing the line. There's an ever-growing corpus of literature about the selfie-taking phenomena. You do love a selfie has become the new millennial. Backhanded insult, as a matter of fact. And often selfie takers are criticized and judged. Yet we do know that selfie taking is not an unmotivated act. That's the most important thing. It is definitely bordering on narcissism. So try to curb it. Next time you take your camera or phone, you don't need to say, well, let me project this. Judge for yourself. Is the projection required? Is it relevant? Relevant even to yourself. You are flying from place A to place B. How does it matter to anybody whether you're flying from A to B or B to A or C to Z? It doesn't. It doesn't affect you as well, because the end is why you are doing it, not you are doing it. You go to a restaurant to have a breakfast, fine, that's okay. But this is there are 7 billion people. Out of 7 billion people, possibly 5 billion people are having their breakfast. So what's so big about it? Whether you take it in a restaurant or you take it in a home. So consider the relevance, the importance, rather than just taking a selfie and posting it. If you're taking it for archives and records, yes, take it. But posting it shows that you are suffering from abnormality. The selfie generation really is partly abnormal, which is again not bad, but here, if it was just partly, it would be fine. It's partly across more than 50%. And therein lies the problem. Thank you.